16 devastating signs your husband is not attracted to you anymore. Maybe you're wondering whether or not your husband is attracted to you anymore. If you are asking yourself this question, something is probably making you think that your marriage is falling apart. I also wanted to check for signs showing my husband was not attracted to me once we started spending less time together. Maybe there's something else going on in your situation. For instance, you might have noticed that your husband looks at other women or that he doesn't give you as much attention as he previously did. The truth is, sometimes we tend to overreact. We imagine the worst possible scenario without any proof. When I thought my husband was not attracted to me, I first had to ask myself a simple question. Were things always this way, or did something recently change? What if I was seeing signs that my husband was not attracted to me, but he had been showing them ever since we first met? If he had always been distant, maybe it's just the way he is, and it doesn't mean there's something wrong. Even if your husband wasn't always this way, maybe he's currently going through something that has nothing to do with you. You probably feel the same way and think your marriage is falling apart, but you have to give it some time. The smartest thing you can do is simply have a conversation with him. If you see the signs your husband is not attracted to you anymore, don't ever jump to conclusions before talking to him. But what if you're actually seeing the signs, and what if it's not all in your head? Unfortunately, there is a chance that it's true, but you shouldn't presume anything before having a conversation with him. You should help him feel comfortable telling you everything that's troubling him. A healthy marriage is one where both partners know that they can openly talk to each other about their issues. He could just be trying to protect you, but look what that made you think. When I saw certain clues that my husband was not attracted to me, I had an honest conversation with him. He reassured me that he was still attracted to me, but it didn't mean that there wasn't a problem in our marriage. Still, it was nothing we couldn't work on together. Eventually, everything was okay again, and hopefully it will be in your case too. A marriage, just like any relationship, has its ups and downs. The difference between a marriage and some other relationship is that you don't give up on it so easily. It's a relationship where you promised eternity to each other. Sometimes it just can't last long, but you don't let that happen without at least trying to fix things. So, don't panic right away and give your man the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you have been truly unhappy in your marriage for a while now, and there's no chance of that changing. Your husband could really not be attracted to you anymore. Unfortunately, this sometimes happens, but you need to be certain that there's no hope until you wave your white flag. Following signs are red flags that your marriage isn't headed in the right direction. Number 1. He's not interested in having meaningful conversations any longer. The key to a successful relationship of any kind is having meaningful conversations. Healthy and deep conversations are what keep us close to and open with each other. You should be able to sincerely express all the thoughts and feelings you have, and naturally, he should feel comfortable doing the same. That's how things work in a happy marriage, and maybe they worked that way in yours before, but it has changed. Your husband no longer seems interested in having meaningful conversations, and that's one of the signs your husband is not attracted to you anymore. You have to bring back deep conversations into your marriage. Start with one about whether there's something bothering him that he's not telling you about. Number 2. He spends a lot of his time away from you. A man who doesn't find his wife attractive anymore might avoid spending time at home. He'll spend most of his time away from her to avoid the issue. Another reason he does that is in hope that as long as he's away, his wife won't notice the elephant in the room. He could come up with a lot of excuses not to be at home. Maybe he started spending a lot more time with his friends or at work. Of course, there could be a reasonable explanation for this. You shouldn't panic as soon as your husband wants to hang out with his buddies or starts working late. It could be nothing out of the ordinary, but the big question is the amount of time he spends out of the house. If it's almost obscene, there's definitely something seriously wrong. Maybe your husband doesn't find you attractive anymore, or there's another issue he's trying to avoid facing. Either way, when he's almost never home, some issue clearly exists. Your husband needs to tell you about it because when you married him, you didn't sign up for basically living alone. Number 3. He makes other people or plans a priority instead of you. Naturally, married couples need to have their own lives outside of the relationship, just like everyone else. It's okay for your husband to have some time to himself or make plans that don't include you, which means that he should occasionally have some me time and hang out with his friends without you. What's not okay is when that's more important to him than you are. This is another one of the signs your husband is not attracted to you anymore. He seems to prioritize other plans or people before you. Let me give you an example to better explain what I mean by that. Maybe he had a poker game with his buddies last night and you didn't complain about it. The day before, he wanted to spend all his time playing a video game alone in another room, and you didn't bother him or complain about that either. But today, you just wanted to cuddle up with him and watch a movie together because you started feeling lonely. You told him about it, but then his friends called again and he ditched you for them. That hurts, and it's definitely not a behavior you should tolerate in marriage. Number 4. He blames you for everything. Even married couples make mistakes and sometimes blame each other for them. It happens, but in your marriage, it started happening all the time, and it's always your fault. He blames you for every single bad thing, from his foul mood to a messy room. Is everything really your fault like he says it is? Trust me, it's not, and don't let him make you think that it is. All these accusations are excuses to justify the lack of attraction he feels. If he never does anything around the house but makes you feel guilty about it being messy, that's not fair and you don't need to take it. You need to stand up for yourself instead of letting him believe that he's right. Number 5. He no longer puts any effort into your marriage. Everyone knows that mutual effort is needed for a relationship to work, and this especially goes for a marriage. Working on a relationship and always making sure to keep it healthy is easier said than done. How hard is it when only one person is trying to do it all on their own? It's almost impossible and completely unfair. Your husband needs to make a conscious effort every once in a while. He needs to buy you flowers, take you to a restaurant, or find a way to spend quality time together with you. Your husband needs to put an effort into your marriage and show him he genuinely loves you. If he has stopped doing that, there's some kind of problem. Maybe your husband has pulled back because he's not attracted to you anymore. Number 6. He's constantly on his phone. It seems like he never puts his phone down any longer. He even takes it with him when he goes to the bathroom. This could be a warning sign he's cheating, though it doesn't have to be, but it still indicates that there's a problem. Maybe he's using his phone to talk to someone else he likes, but maybe he is simply entertained more by anything he sees on his phone than by spending time with you. He might be giving more attention to a stranger online with whom he's having a meaningless argument than to you. It's definitely a bad clue that your husband might not be attracted to you anymore. Number 7. He never initiates anything. Your husband never texts you first anymore, and he never initiates a fun activity you could do together. Sometimes you do things together, but it's only when you propose them, and you are also the one who initiates all your conversations, calls, and texts. All this is making you feel like he would be fine if you didn't do those things, which means that he isn't as interested in you as he was before. It could also mean that he's just taking you for granted, but either way, it's not okay. Number 8. He never misses you when you're apart. When teenagers are in love and they have to be away from each other, they feel like it's the end of the world. Of course, married couples don't usually feel the same way. You're not going to cry all day just because your husband needs to go on a business trip. Still, loving someone makes you miss them when they're away, whether you're a married couple or teenagers in love. Does he miss you when you're apart? If he doesn't text or call you while you're apart, he doesn't miss you. Don't forget that it's impossible for someone to be that busy to be unable to send a simple text saying, "I miss you." Try to make it a rule that once you get together again, you always talk to each other about the things that happened while you were apart. When you are away, buy him a small present and give it to him when you get home. If these things make him feel frustrated or annoyed, there's a problem in your marriage. Number 9. He doesn't talk about the future with you. People in relationships usually talk extensively about their goals and visions for the future. In a marriage, talking about the future is even more important. For the two of you to be able to support each other the way you should, you need to know each other's goals in life. Married people usually share similar visions, so they talk about them a lot. Marriage means that you plan to spend your life with someone so you can achieve every one of your goals together. Most married couples want to create their ideal life, so they often talk about the future. If your husband doesn't want to talk about the future with you anymore, it might be a reason to worry. Maybe the topic simply hasn't come up recently, but this is one of the signs you can easily test. Try talking to him about the future and see how he reacts. If he goes quiet, wants to change the subject, or tries to avoid talking about it in some other way, it's a bad sign. It could mean that he no longer sees a future with you. Number 10. He says hurtful things to you. People don't just wake up one day and decide to end a relationship, let alone a marriage. There are always signs before this happens, and they are often in the things a person says to us. Maybe your husband said something very hurtful to you after a fight, or when you didn't even expect it. We all sometimes say hurtful things in the heat of an argument, but he doesn't say the same kind of things. He says deeper things that hurt and which let you know that your relationship isn't the same as it was. Once that starts happening, it shows that there's a big problem in your marriage. Maybe you have a mean husband, but it still doesn't mean that he has a right to hurt you like that. Number 11. He's having an affair. Maybe you know that your husband is cheating on you, or you only think that he is. Either way, it's a very big sign that he's not attracted to you anymore. You can tell that there's something going on by the way he's been acting lately. He hardly spends any time with you, and he gets home late at night, maybe even smelling of another woman. You might have even noticed something on his phone that indicates he's having an affair. If you are completely sure that your husband is cheating on you, it definitely means that he's not attracted to you anymore. It doesn't mean just that though. Cheating also means that he's disloyal and runs away from problems instead of trying to work on them. Most importantly, it means that he treats you very badly, and you don't deserve that. A man who truly loves you would never make you feel this way. Number 12. He acts as if he doesn't trust you anymore. A lack of trust in a marriage is always a very bad sign. Because of that, the emotional connection that you shared will be gone and your marriage will be shaken. Maybe something happened and he lied to you, so that's the reason you don't trust him anymore. Perhaps the two of you simply don't consider yourselves as partners in life, even though neither of you has lied to the other. Either way, this lack of trust is something that could end your marriage. But if you don't want it to end, it's definitely something you should work on. Trust can be earned again, even once it's lost. But it takes a lot of effort to make that happen. If the two of you are willing to work on it, there's still hope. But if you're not, your marriage is not going to last much longer without trust. Number 13. You fight a lot. All couples fight sometimes, and it's nothing out of the ordinary. I already mentioned that all relationships have their ups and downs. As long as disagreements don't happen too often and you deal with them rationally, it's perfectly normal. On the other hand, if you fight a lot, there could be a deeper underlying issue that you're not facing. This issue doesn't have to be obviously related to what you're fighting about. Maybe your husband isn't attracted to you anymore, but he gets it out in the form of arguing about dirty dishes. How can you know whether that's what the underlying issue is? Well, he'll be especially snappy when you confront him about a lack of physical affection. Number 14. He has stopped showing you physical affection. Showing physical affection is very important in any relationship. It means expressing your love in a nonverbal way, which shouldn't be neglected. By showing physical affection, you're letting your partner know that you still find them attractive and love them. Every type of loving touch is a way to show physical affection. When you cuddle, hold hands, hug, or kiss. When your husband stops doing these things, it's a huge warning sign. If you can't remember the last time your husband touched you in a loving manner, you are right to be worried. He might no longer be attracted to you. Most men always want to touch the woman they love, and they are aware that it shows the love between them. Number 15. He flirts with other women. Maybe your husband flirts with other women or often looks at them while ignoring you. You are married, so flirting with other people really isn't okay. Of course, it could be meaningless, but he doesn't give you proper attention either. If he doesn't pay attention to you and doesn't make you feel loved, even meaningless flirting shouldn't be tolerated. Maybe he has no intention of cheating on you and just does it to boost his ego. But is he aware that he's damaging your self-confidence and the sense of security in your marriage? That's not what you deserve. After all, how can you be sure that he would never cheat on you? When you feel uncomfortable with his behavior, you need to talk to him about it right away. Men aren't always good at realizing how their actions make us feel unless we tell them about it. Your husband might believe that you're sure that you're the only woman for him. He may not be aware that what he does upsets you. When your husband looks at another woman, it doesn't have to mean that he would like to be with her. Still, if you clearly pointed out that it bothers you and he keeps doing it, it's a big problem. Even if he is faithful to you, he should respect you enough to control himself if his behavior hurts you. Nevertheless, flirting with other women could mean that he's no longer attracted to you. Number 16. He's unavailable and cold. The emotional attachment that you share with your spouse is even greater than the one you share with friends or family. Is your husband there for you when you're having a hard time, or would he rather spend time with his friends? Maybe he really was unable to be there for you when you needed him at some point, for example because of work. Still, I can't imagine a situation you couldn't possibly get out of to be there for the person you love when they need you. Emotional distance usually happens because of poor communication, or more likely because of a lack of it. Sit down with your husband and initiate a meaningful, honest conversation. Hopefully, it will be enough to get your relationship back on track.